The darkness between galaxies held no stars. For 500,000 years, this empty void had been home to the last survivors of humanity. Now, after countless generations of waiting and planning, they were finally going home. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the massive warship Vengeance. Through the viewing window, he could see thousands of other ships stretching out in all directions. This was the entire human race, packed into a fleet that had grown from a handful of refugee vessels into an armada that could darken suns. "Commander, we're approaching the Galactic Rim," reported Lieutenant Amy Collins from her station. She was young, maybe 25, but her eyes held the weight of ancient stories. Every human child grew up hearing the tales of Earth, of blue skies and green grass, of the world their ancestors had lost. Jake nodded. "Signal, all ships. We maintain formation until we reach the Sol system." His voice carried across the bridge, steady and calm, but inside his heart was racing. After so many years in the cold dark, they were finally returning to the galaxy that had cast them out. The story every human knew began long ago, when their people had first reached for the stars. Humanity had been young then, eager and aggressive. They had built colonies on a dozen worlds, pushed deeper into space, and made contact with other intelligent species. At first, the aliens had seemed friendly enough, but as human colonies grew and multiplied, the other species became worried. Humans bred fast and spread faster. They adapted to new worlds with frightening ease. They fought wars with ferocity that shocked the more peaceful alien races. Within just a few centuries, humans had claimed territory that other species had taken millennia to explore. The alien species formed what they called the Hegemony Council. Representatives from dozens of different worlds met in secret to discuss the human problem. They decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to continue expanding. Something had to be done. The attack came without warning. Human colonies across the galaxy were hit simultaneously by overwhelming alien forces. Orbital bombardments turned thriving cities into radioactive wasteland. Civilian ships were destroyed without mercy. Billions of humans died in the first day alone. Captain Ben Wright, commander of the heavy cruiser Retribution, had been at Earth when the news arrived. "Sir, we're getting reports from every human colony," his communications officer had said, voice shaking. "They're all under attack. The aliens have formed some kind of alliance against us." The fighting had lasted 3 years. Humanity put up a fierce resistance, but they were outnumbered 100 to 1. For every alien ship they destroyed, 10 more took its place. Human technology was good, but not good enough to overcome such odds. In the end, less than 1 million humans escaped the genocide. They fled in whatever ships they could find, carrying with them the genetic samples, cultural records, and burning hatred that would sustain them through the long exile ahead. "Commander, long-range sensors are picking up the first stars," reported Major Lisa Parker from the sensor station. She was a scout, trained to find enemies before they found her. "We'll be entering the galaxy within the next few hours." Jake looked around at his bridge crew. Every one of them had been born in the void between galaxies. None had ever seen a natural sun or breathed air that didn't come from recycling systems. But they all carried the memories of their ancestors, passed down through generations of stories and genetic programming. Dr. Helen Burke worked at a science station, reviewing data on their target. She was the fleet's chief researcher, an expert on both human biology and alien technology. "Commander, our intelligence suggests the hegemony has grown lazy over the past 500,000 years. They think we're all dead." That was their advantage. The aliens had won so completely that they had forgotten their enemy existed. In their minds, the human problem had been solved permanently. They had no idea that somewhere in the dark between galaxies, humanity had been growing stronger. The exile had changed them. Natural evolution and careful genetic modification had made them faster, stronger, smarter than their ancestors. They could survive in vacuum for hours, see in near total darkness, and heal from wounds that would kill baseline humans. Most importantly, they had learned to hate with a purity that was almost religious. "Sir, we're receiving data from our advanced scouts," reported Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis. He commanded the fleet's special forces, soldiers trained for the harshest conditions imaginable. Earth is still there, but it's been completely transformed. The aliens are using it as their capital world. Jake's hands clenched into fists. Earth, the birth world of humanity, had been turned into an alien stronghold. The very thought made his blood boil. What about the rest of the Sol system? Heavy fortifications on Mars. Mining operations throughout the asteroid belt. Jupiter's moons have been converted into research facilities. The whole system is crawling with alien activity. It was worse than they had expected, but also better. The aliens felt so safe in the Sol system that they had concentrated their most important facilities there. When the humans struck, they would hit the hegemony right in the heart. "Commander, we're now entering the Milky Way galaxy," announced Amy Collins. Through the viewing window, Jake could see stars again for the first time in his life. Real stars, burning bright against the darkness. Somewhere among them was a yellow sun that had once warmed Earth. Jake stood up from his command chair and addressed the bridge crew. "Signal, all ships. We've been patient for 500,000 years. We've planned and prepared and grown strong in the darkness. Now it's time for the galaxy to remember why they feared us in the first place." The fleet adjusted course, heading deeper into galaxy. Behind them, the void between galaxies stretched empty and cold. Ahead lay their destiny, their revenge, and the world they had never stopped calling home. On 1,000 ships, millions of humans checked their weapons and reviewed their battle plans. They had been born for this moment, bred and trained for this single purpose. The time for hiding was over. Humanity was coming home. Major Lisa Parker crouched in the shadow of an asteroid, watching the Sol system through her ship's advanced sensors. Her stealth scout vessel was invisible to most detection methods, wrapped in technology that bent light and absorbed energy signatures. She had been observing for 3 days now, and what she saw made her sick to her stomach. Earth hung in space like a purple and green marble, nothing like the blue world of ancient human memories. The aliens had changed everything. Where once there had been vast oceans of water, now seas of liquid methane reflected alien sunlight. The continents had been reshaped, carved into geometric patterns that pleased alien eyes but looked wrong to human ones. "Control, this is Scout 7, Lisa whispered into her communications device. "I'm looking at Earth now. It's worse than we thought." Commander Jake Morrison's voice came back through the encrypted channel. "How bad, Major?" Lisa adjusted her sensors for a closer look. The atmosphere has been completely changed. Purple skies, methane clouds, gravity fields that have been artificially modified. "Sir, I don't think a baseline human could survive down there for 5 minutes." The truth was hard to accept. Earth, the world their ancestors had died to protect, had been transformed beyond recognition. The aliens hadn't just conquered it, they had made it into something alien. Through her telescopic viewers, Lisa could see massive crystal cities rising from what had once been human lands. The structures were beautiful in their own way, but they were built on the bones of human civilization. Sometimes, as she looked carefully, she could see the remains of old human buildings poking up through the alien construction like broken teeth. "Scout 7, what about defensive positions?" asked Captain Ben right over the comm as ship Retribution was holding position 3 light hours away, waiting for intelligence. "Heavy orbital platforms around Earth. Looks like they have energy shields that could stop most weapons. But, sir, I don't think they're expecting trouble. The guards look lazy, like they're just going through the motions." That made sense. The aliens had won their war against humanity 500,000 years ago. To them, it was ancient history. None of the aliens currently alive had even been born when humans ruled Earth. They probably thought of the human-alien war the same way humans once thought of dinosaur extinction, something that happened so long ago it had no meaning for the present. Lisa moved her ship closer to Mars, staying hidden in the sensor shadow of a large asteroid. The red planet had been turned into a fortress world, covered in alien military bases and weapons factories. But even here, the defenses looked old and poorly maintained. "Control, I'm seeing weapons that are centuries out of date. Their sensor networks have gaps big enough to fly a battleship through. These aliens haven't fought a real war in a very long time. Dr. Helen Burke's voice joined the conversation from the research ship Hope. Major, can you get detailed scans of their technology? We need to know how much they've advanced since our ancestors left. Lisa activated her ship's most sensitive scanning equipment. The data that came back was surprising. Dr. Burke, their technology has barely improved at all. If anything, some of it looks more primitive than what our ancestors faced during the original war. This was unexpected good news. While humanity had spent 500,000 years in the void, constantly innovating and improving just to survive, the aliens had grown comfortable and lazy. They had no enemies to fight, no challenges to overcome. Their technology had stagnated. The Major moved her scout ship to Jupiter, where several of the planet's moons had been converted into research facilities. Europa was covered in laboratories and data centers. Ganymede hosted what looked like a massive computer complex. Io had been turned into an industrial center, its volcanic activity harnessed to power alien manufacturing. But it was on Europa that Lisa made the most disturbing discovery. Her deep penetration scanners detected something that made her blood run cold. Control, you need to hear this. I'm picking up human genetic signatures on Europa. They're faint but definitely human. The comm channel went silent for a long moment. Finally, Commander Morrison spoke. Are you saying there are humans down there, Major? No, sir. These signatures are coming from storage facilities. I think the aliens have been keeping human genetic material for research purposes. The implications hit everyone at once. The aliens hadn't just killed billions of humans. They had kept samples to study, like collecting specimens of an extinct animal. The thought made Lisa want to fire every weapon her ship carried at the alien facility. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis's voice came over the comm, tight with controlled anger. Major, can you confirm how much material they have? Lisa ran deeper scans, pushing her stealth systems to their limits. Extensive genetic libraries. DNA samples from thousands of different human populations. They've got enough material to bring back our entire species, if they wanted to. But they hadn't wanted to. For 500,000 years, they had sat on the genetic legacy of humanity, while using Earth as their capital. They had turned the human homeworld into an alien paradise, built on the grave of human civilization. Scout 7, return to base immediately, ordered Commander Morrison. We need to plan our next moves. As Lisa piloted her ship back toward the hidden human fleet, she thought about what she had seen. Earth transformed beyond recognition. Mars turned into an enemy fortress. The moons of Jupiter converted into alien research centers where human genetic material was stored like museum pieces. But she had also seen something else, an enemy grown soft and careless. The Hegemony Council had won their war so completely that they had forgotten how to fight. Their weapons were old, their defenses were weak, and their guards were lazy. When Lisa's ship docked with the command vessel, she was immediately brought to the main briefing room. Dozens of human commanders and specialists were waiting to hear her report. Maps of the Sol system covered the walls, marked with defensive positions and target priorities. Commander Morrison stood at the head of the room. Major Parker, give us your full assessment. Lisa activated a holographic display, showing her reconnaissance data. Sirs, the enemy is vulnerable. They've grown complacent over the past half-millennium. Their technology has stagnated, while ours has advanced. Most importantly, they're not expecting any kind of attack. She paused, looking around the room at the faces of her fellow humans. Every person here had been born for one purpose, to take back what was stolen from their ancestors. But there's something else. The aliens have been keeping human genetic material on Europa, thousands of samples from our ancestors. If we're going to strike, we need to make sure those samples are preserved. Captain Ben Wright leaned forward. Are you suggesting we can actually restore the human genetic lines that were lost? Dr. Helen Burke nodded enthusiastically. If Major Parker's scans are accurate, we could bring back genetic diversity that was lost during the original Exodus. We could restore humanity to what it was before the exile. Commander Morrison studied the data for a long moment. Then our mission has changed. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about resurrection. We're going to take back our homeworld. rescue our genetic heritage, and show the galaxy that humanity is far from extinct. The room erupted in determined voices as officers began planning the operation. Outside, the human fleet waited in the darkness between stars, ready to begin the war that would restore their species to its rightful place in the galaxy. Captain Tony Martinez checked his weapon systems one final time as his strike force approached the asteroid mining facility. 12 human warships moved through space like hunting wolves, their hulls black as a void that had been their home for so long. All ships, maintain radio silence. Tony whispered into his comm unit. We go in fast and hit them before they know what's happening. The asteroid facility was huge, carved directly into a rock the size of a small moon. Alien workers and automated systems had been stripping minerals from the asteroid for centuries, feeding the hegemony's industrial machine. According to intelligence reports, over 50,000 alien workers lived and worked inside the hollowed-out rock. Tony looked at the tactical display on his command screen. The facility had defensive weapons, but they were old and poorly maintained. More importantly, the aliens weren't expecting trouble. Their guard ships were spread out, their energy shields were running at minimal power, and their sensor sweeps were lazy and predictable. Strike leader, this is Hammer 2, came the voice of Lieutenant Rick Stone over the tactical channel. I'm seeing minimal defensive activity. These aliens are practically asleep. That was exactly what the humans were counting on. 500,000 years of complete victory had made the hegemony careless. They ruled the galaxy without challenge, controlled thousands of systems without opposition, and had forgotten what it felt like to face a real enemy. Tony's ship, the destroyer Payback, led the formation toward the facility. Behind him came 11 other vessels, each one packed with weapons and soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They were the children and grandchildren of refugees, but they fought with the fury of their ancestors. All ships, we're now in attack range, Tony announced. Remember, we want to send a message. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and make sure the survivors have something to talk about. The human ships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams and missile volleys lit up space as they struck the alien facility. The outer defensive platforms exploded in brilliant flashes, their shields overwhelmed by weapons they had never been designed to stop. The alien response was immediate but confused. Alarms wailed across their communication channels as workers and guards tried to figure out what was happening. Guard ships scrambled to respond, but they moved slowly, like creatures awakening from a deep sleep. Enemy ships launching from the facility, reported Lieutenant Stone. 12 vessels, moving to intercept. Tony smiled grimly. 12 ships against 12 might have seemed like even odds, but the aliens had no idea what they were facing. The humans had spent centuries developing new weapons, new tactics, and new technologies. More importantly, they had been bred for war. The first alien ship to reach firing range discovered this the hard way. It launched what looked like a standard energy barrage at Tony's destroyer. The human ship's shields absorbed the attack easily, then responded with a gravitational weapon that crushed the alien vessel like a tin can. What the hell was that? Came a panic alien transmission that the humans intercepted. How did they do that? Admiral Kate Lewis, commanding the human fleet from her position outside the system, listened to the battle reports with satisfaction. Captain Martinez, how are you proceeding? Facility defenses are down, Admiral. We're now engaging their mobile units. Estimate complete victory in 15 minutes. The alien ships were trying to form a defensive formation, but they were too slow and too predictable. Human vessels accelerated at forces that would have killed most alien crews, pulling maneuvers that seemed impossible to their enemies. The humans could survive in vacuum, fight in zero gravity, and push their ships beyond what any alien thought was possible. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis monitored the battle from his assault transport. Strike leader, we're ready for boarding operations. My teams are prepared to take that facility apart piece by piece. Negative, Colonel. Admiral's orders are to leave survivors. We want them to spread the word about what happened here. Sam understood. This first attack wasn't really about destroying one mining facility. It was about sending a message to the Hegemony Council. After 500,000 years of peace, someone was fighting back. Someone was challenging their authority. The last alien guard ship exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. The mining facility itself was crippled but not destroyed, its workers trapped inside but still alive. Tony's strike force had accomplished its mission in exactly 17 minutes. All ships, prepare to withdraw, Tony ordered. We've done what we came to do. But before they left, Tony activated the facility's main communication system. His message would be broadcast to every hegemony world within 50 light years. This is Captain Tony Martinez of the Human Liberation Fleet. 500,000 years ago, your people drove us from our homes and murdered our families. You thought you had destroyed us completely. You were wrong. The communication channel crackled with static as alien voices tried to respond, but Tony wasn't finished. We are the children of Earth, the descendants of those you exiled to the void. We have returned to reclaim what was stolen from us. This attack is just the beginning. Tell your leaders that humanity remembers. Tell them that we're coming home. The human ships vanished into space, leaving the crippled facility behind. Within hours, the news of the attack was spreading through hegemony communication networks. Emergency meetings were called on a dozen worlds as alien leaders tried to understand what had happened on the hegemony capital world. Chancellor Vexhai of the Reptilian Dominion stared at the battle reports in disbelief. This is impossible. The humans were wiped out 500,000 years ago. We have complete records of their destruction. High Counselor Zindar of the Crystalline Collective examined the tactical data. The weapon signatures don't match anything in our databases. These ships use technologies we've never seen before, and the acceleration rates they achieved should have killed any crew aboard. The truth was beginning to dawn on the hegemony leadership. Somehow, somewhere, humanity had survived. Worse than that, they had evolved. The refugees who had fled into the void had become something new, something more dangerous than their ancestors. Admiral Kate Lewis received reports from strike forces hitting targets throughout the outer system. Mining stations, research outposts, and communication relays were all under attack. The aliens were responding, but slowly and clumsily, like a giant trying to swat flies. All strike teams, this is Fleet Command. She broadcast her forces. Phase 1 is complete. The enemy knows we're here. Begin Phase 2 operations. Throughout the Sol system, human ships began appearing from the darkness. They hit supply convoys, destroyed sensor stations, and rescued human genetic material from research facilities. Each attack was surgical and precise, designed to cause maximum disruption with minimum risk. The hegemony tried to respond, but their forces were scattered and unprepared. Ships that hadn't seen combat in centuries were suddenly facing an enemy that fought with desperation and fury they couldn't understand. On Earth, emergency sessions of the Hegemony Council were called. Representatives from dozens of alien species gathered to discuss this impossible threat. Ancient records were consulted as scholars tried to remember what had made humanity so dangerous in the first place. But as they talked and debated, more human ships were entering the system. The first strike had been just a taste of what was coming. The real war was about to begin, and the aliens were starting to realize that they might not be the hunters in this conflict. They might be the prey. The Great Assembly Hall on Earth had not seen such chaos in 300 years. Representatives from 47 different alien species shouted at each other in a dozen different languages, while holographic displays showed the spreading human attacks throughout the Sol system. Chancellor Vexhai slammed his scaled fist on the podium, calling for order. The reptilian leader's yellow eyes glowed with anger as he surveyed the panicked delegates. Silence! We will not solve this crisis by screaming at each other like primitive animals. High Counselor Zindar's crystalline form chimed with harmonic frequencies that translated as worry. Chancellor, we have lost contact with 17 outer system facilities in the past 24 hours. The human fleet is moving faster than our response teams can track. In the back of the hall, Ambassador Keldar of the insectoid hives clicked his mandibles nervously. His species had been among the first to call for humanity's destruction 500,000 years ago. Now that decision was coming back to haunt them. How many humans could there possibly be? Demanded General Mordock of the Ursine Federation. Our records show that less than 1 million escaped the original purge. Even with natural population growth, they couldn't field more than a few hundred ships. Dr. Yilandra, the hegemony's chief historian, projected ancient files onto the main display screen. Generals, I have been reviewing our ancestral records. The humans who fled were not ordinary refugees. They were the survivors of our most intensive military campaigns, the smartest, strongest, and most dangerous of their species. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans they faced now were not the descendants of peaceful colonists or merchants. They were the children of warriors who had survived the greatest military campaign in galactic history. Meanwhile, far above Earth's purple atmosphere, Colonel Alex Thompson prepared his assault team for the most important mission of the war so far. Jupiter's moon Europa had been converted into a massive research facility, and intelligence indicated it contained the largest collection of human genetic material in the galaxy. All teams, check your equipment one final time, Alex commanded as his soldiers prepared for the drop. Remember, we're not here to destroy everything. We need to preserve those genetic samples at all costs. Lieutenant Danny Foster, Alex's second in command, reviewed the facility schematics on his tactical display. Colonel, thermal scans show approximately 3,000 alien researchers and guards inside the facility. Most of them are concentrated in the lower levels. Alex nodded. We go in fast and hard. Secure the genetic storage areas first, then worry about the aliens. If they try to destroy the samples, we stop them by any means necessary. The assault began with a precisely coordinated orbital bombardment. Human ships in orbit around Jupiter fired focused energy beams at Europa's defensive systems, disabling shields and weapons in the first few seconds of the attack. Then the drop ships launched. Alex's team hit the surface of Europa like falling meteors. Their armored suits allowed them to survive impacts that would have killed baseline humans. They moved through the facility's corridors with deadly efficiency, using weapons and tactics that the alien defenders had never seen before. Alpha Team, we've secured the main genetic storage area, reported Sergeant Mike Torres over the comm system. Sir, you need to see this. When Alex reached the storage facility, he found himself standing in a vast chamber filled with thousands of genetic samples. Each container was labeled with data about its contents. Human DNA from populations across dozens of worlds, preserved since the original war. But there was more. The aliens hadn't just stored the genetic material. They had been experimenting with it. Dr. Rachel Moore, the team science specialist, examined the research data with growing horror. Colonel, they've been trying to clone humans for centuries. Look at these records. Thousands of attempts to recreate human subjects for study. Alex felt his blood turn cold. Are you saying they've been growing people down here? Attempting to, yes, but they never got it right. The clones always died within days or weeks. The aliens never understood human biology well enough to create viable subjects. The thought of alien scientists trying to grow human beings like laboratory animals filled Alex with a rage that threatened to overcome his military discipline. Around him, his soldiers were making similar discoveries. The aliens had treated humanity like an interesting specimen to be studied and cataloged. Captain Ben Wright's voice crackled over the long-range comm system. Colonel Thompson, we got incoming alien reinforcements. A battle fleet is approaching Europa. You need to complete your mission and get out of there. Understood, Captain. We're securing the genetic samples now. Alex's team worked quickly to transfer the most important genetic material to portable storage units. They couldn't take everything, but they could save enough to restore much of the genetic diversity that humanity had lost during the Exodus. As they worked, the facility's automated systems began activating emergency protocols. Blast doors slammed shut and self-destruct sequences initiated. The aliens were trying to destroy the evidence of their experiments. All teams, we have 5 minutes before this place goes critical, Alex announced. Grab what you can and move to the extraction point. The human soldiers fought their way through corridors filled with desperate alien defenders. The facility's guards had finally realized what was happening and were trying to stop the humans from escaping with their precious samples. But the aliens were no match for human soldiers who had been bred and trained for exactly this kind of operation. Alex's team carved through their opponents with weapons that could punch holes in steel bulkheads and armor that could survive direct hits from alien energy weapons. Lieutenant Foster held the extraction point, while the rest of the team loaded the genetic samples onto their transport ship. Colonel, alien reinforcements are landing outside. We've got maybe 2 minutes before they break through our perimeter. Load the last of the samples and prepare for immediate departure, Alex ordered. We didn't come this far to leave empty-handed. The transport ship lifted off from Europa's surface just as alien artillery began targeting their position. Captain Ben Wright's cruiser Retribution provided covering fire, its weapon systems picking off alien interceptors as they tried to pursue the fleeing humans. Colonel Thompson, this is Admiral Lewis, came the fleet commander's voice over the comm. What's your status? Mission accomplished, Admiral. We recovered genetic samples representing thousands of different human populations. Dr. Burke should be very interested in what we found. But Alex didn't mention the most disturbing discovery. Hidden in the deepest levels of the facility, his team had found something that would change everything they thought they knew about the alien occupation of Earth. They had found the remains of the original human cities, perfectly preserved beneath the alien construction. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, all of them were still there, buried under layers of alien crystal and metal, but intact enough to explore. The aliens hadn't just conquered Earth and changed it. They had built their new civilization directly on top of the old one, using human ruins as a foundation for their crystal cities. They had literally buried human civilization under their own. When Alex's transport docked with the fleet's main ships, he was immediately brought to Admiral Lewis for debriefing. The genetic samples were rushed to Dr. Helen Burke's laboratory, while Alex reported on what his team had discovered. Admiral, Europa was just the beginning. The aliens have been conducting human research for centuries, trying to understand what made us so dangerous. But there's something else. Earth's surface isn't just changed, it's layered. The alien cities are built on top of the original human settlements. Admiral Lewis studied the data Alex had collected. Are you saying the original human cities are still there? Yes, ma'am. Buried but intact. The aliens didn't destroy our civilization. They just covered it up and pretended it never existed. The implications were staggering. Not only could humanity reclaim Earth, they could literally rebuild their original civilization. The cities their ancestors had died to defend were still waiting beneath the alien surface. Colonel, you and your team have just given us the most important intelligence of this war. Earth isn't just our target anymore. It's our inheritance, waiting to be reclaimed. As the human fleet prepared for the next phase of their campaign, word of the Europa raid spread through hegemony space. The aliens were finally beginning to understand what they were facing. Humanity hadn't just survived their exile. They had evolved into something far more dangerous than their ancestors. The beast they had tried to destroy 500,000 years ago had awakened, and it was coming home. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the forward observation deck of his flagship, staring at a blue-green marble that hung in the darkness of space. But this wasn't the Earth of human memory. The planet before him glowed with alien auroras, its atmosphere tinted purple by gases that no human had ever breathed. Sir, we are now in Earth orbit, reported Lieutenant Amy Collins from a bridge. Her voice carried a mixture of excitement and sadness that every human felt when looking upon their transformed homeworld. Jake pressed his hand against the viewing window. Somewhere beneath those alien clouds were the bones of human civilization: New York, London, Tokyo, Paris. All buried under crystal cities that reflected alien sunlight in patterns that hurt human eyes to look at. Admiral Lewis, this is Fleet Commander Morrison. We have visual confirmation of Earth. Beginning final approach. Admiral Kate Lewis's voice came back immediately. Understood, Commander. All fleet elements are in position. We are ready to begin the final phase. The human armada that surrounded Earth was the largest military force in galactic history. Over 2,000 warships, from massive dreadnoughts to swift assault vessels, hung in the darkness around humanity's birth world. Every ship carried soldiers and weapons forged in the void between galaxies, designed for this single moment. Major Lisa Parker, now commanding the Elite Reconnaissance Division, transmitted her final intelligence report. All units, alien defensive positions are as follows. 12 orbital battle stations, approximately 300 defense ships, and surface-to-space weapon platforms covering every major continent. But the humans had learned something important during their capture of Mars. The aliens were no longer the military force that had driven humanity from the galaxy half a million years ago. They had grown soft, complacent, and technologically stagnant. Their defenses looked impressive, but were centuries out of date. Captain Ben Wright, commanding the heavy cruiser Retribution, studied the alien positions with professional interest. Commander Morrison, their orbital stations are using shield technology we defeated at Mars. Their weapons have the same limitations we've already learned to exploit. Jake nodded. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They had built their defenses based on the humanity they remembered, the species they had driven out so long ago. They had no idea what humanity had become during their exile in the darkness. All ships, this is Commander Morrison. Today we take back the world our ancestors died to defend. We have waited 500,000 years for this moment. We will not fail them. The assault began with a coordinated strike on the orbital defense stations. Human dreadnoughts opened fire with weapons that could crack planets, their energy beams reaching across space to overwhelm alien shields in seconds. The 12 battle stations that had protected Earth for millennia were destroyed in the opening moments of the battle. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis prepared his assault troops for the most important ground operation in human history. His soldiers would be the first humans to set foot on Earth in 500,000 years, but they wouldn't be coming home to a world they recognized. All teams, remember your training, Sam announced as his troops prepared for the orbital drop. The gravity is wrong, the atmosphere is toxic to us, and everything down there wants us dead. But this is our world, and we're taking it back. The alien fleet tried to respond to human attack, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Captain Tony Martinez led a squadron of human fighters to the enemy formation, his ships moving at speeds that should have been impossible. The aliens couldn't track them, couldn't predict their movements, and couldn't match their firepower. This is Strike Leader Martinez. Enemy fleet is breaking formation. They're trying to retreat to the planet's surface. Negative, Strike Leader. Don't let any of them escape. We want total victory. The space battle was over in less than an hour. Human weapons technology, refined during centuries of exile, proved vastly superior to anything the aliens possessed. Their ships were faster, their shields stronger, and their weapons more destructive than alien military planners had thought possible. Dr. Helen Burke monitored the battle from her research vessel, but her attention was focused on the planet below. Commander Morrison, I'm detecting massive population centers beneath the alien cities. If Major Parker's reports are correct, the original human settlements are still there. That was the most important discovery of the war. Earth hadn't just been conquered and transformed. It had been layered. The aliens had built their civilization directly on top of human ruins, preserving everything beneath crystal and metal. As the orbital defenses fell, Sam Davis's assault troops began their descent to Earth's surface. They landed in what had once been Central Park in New York City, now covered by an alien crystal garden that reflected purple sunlight in beautiful but wrong patterns. First team touchdown confirmed, Sam reported as his boots touched ground that no human had walked in half a millennium. Atmospheric readings confirmed toxic levels of methane and sulfur compounds. Good thing we came prepared. The human soldiers moved to the alien city, like ghosts returned from the dead. Their armor protected them from the poisonous atmosphere, while their weapons cut through alien defenses that had never been tested against determined opponents. Captain Eddie Russell led the assault on the Hegemony Council building, a massive crystal spire that rose from what had once been Manhattan. The building was supposed to be impregnable, protected by the most advanced alien technology. But human soldiers have been designed to overcome exactly these kinds of defenses. Breaching charges set, reported Sergeant Bill Cooper as his team prepared to enter the council chambers. Sir, we're detecting multiple alien life signs inside. Looks like most of the Hegemony leadership is in there. Take them alive if possible, Sam ordered. We want trials, not executions. As the human assault teams fought their way through Earth's crystal cities, they made discovery after discovery. Beneath every alien structure were the remains of human buildings. Streets that humans had walked, homes where human families had lived, monuments that human hands had built. The psychological impact was devastating for both sides. The humans fought with increasing fury as they uncovered evidence of their stolen heritage. The aliens fought with growing desperation as they realized their entire civilization was built on a lie. Admiral Lewis coordinated the overall assault from her command ship. All units, the orbital battle is complete. Enemy space forces have been eliminated. Ground operations are proceeding ahead of schedule. But the most important moment came when human soldiers reached the deepest levels of the Alien Council building. They're perfectly preserved beneath centuries of alien construction. They found the original United Nations building. Sir, you have to see this. Called Sergeant Cooper over the comm system. The old UN Assembly Hall is still here. The human flags are still hanging on the walls. The symbolism was overwhelming. In the very building where aliens had decided humanity's fate for the past 500,000 years, the original seat of human government had been waiting. The Hegemony Council had literally been meeting on top of human history. Commander Morrison received the reports with a mixture of triumph and sorrow. They were winning the battle for Earth, but at what cost? The world they were reclaiming was no longer the world their ancestors had known. Admiral Lewis, ground forces have secured the primary objectives. The Hegemony Council building is under our control, and we've captured most of their leadership. Outstanding work, Commander. What's the status of civilian populations? That was the most complex part of the operation. Earth was now home to billions of aliens who had been born there who knew no other world. They were the descendants of the conquerors, but they were also innocent of the original crime. Major Parker's intelligence teams have been working on this problem for months. Sir, we've identified several large areas where alien civilian populations can be relocated safely. We don't want genocide. We want justice. The battle for Earth was ending, but the real challenge was just beginning. Humanity had proven they could take back their homeworld by force. Now they had to decide what to do with it. As human soldiers raised their flag over the ruins of human civilization, Jake Morrison looked out at the purple skies and alien auroras that dominated Earth's transformed atmosphere. They had won, but victory felt hollow when seen against the magnitude of what had been lost. All ships, this is Commander Morrison. Earth is ours. The exile is over. We have come home. But as celebrations began throughout the human fleet, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part of their mission was yet to come. They had conquered their homeworld, but now they had to decide what it meant to be human in a galaxy that had tried to forget they existed. The crystal spires of New Geneva burned against Earth's purple sky as human and alien forces clashed in the streets below. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis moved through the urban battlefield like a hunter stalking prey, his enhanced senses tracking enemy movements through smoke and debris. Alpha Team. Enemy resistance is concentrated around the old financial district. He reported into his comm unit. They're using the crystal buildings as defensive positions. The alien defenders were fighting with desperate courage, but they were facing soldiers who had been bred for exactly this kind of warfare. Human assault troops moved through the twisted landscape of Earth's transformed cities, their weapons cutting through alien barricades like paper. Sergeant Bill Cooper led a squad through what had once been Times Square, now covered by a garden of living crystal that sang with alien harmonics. Sir, we found another entrance to the underground human city. The old subway tunnels are still intact. That had been the pattern everywhere they fought. Beneath every alien structure lay the bones of human civilization, perfectly preserved by accident. The aliens had built their cities on top of human ruins without bothering to clear away the original foundations. Dr. Helen Burke worked frantically in her mobile laboratory, analyzing atmospheric samples from the battle zone. Colonel Davis, we're making progress on atmospheric restoration. If we can destroy the alien terraforming plants, Earth's original atmosphere should begin to reassert itself within months. The battle was not just for territory, but for the very nature of Earth itself. The aliens had changed everything. The air, the water, even the magnetic field that protected the planet from solar radiation. Restoring Earth to human standards would be as difficult as conquering it. Captain Eddie Russell commanded the assault on Hegemony's orbital citadel, a massive space station that hovered above Earth's equator. The station was supposed to be impregnable, but Russell's ships had weapons that could crack moons. Citadel defenses are down to 30%, he reported as his squadron pounded the alien fortress. We're detecting massive power fluctuations. I think they're preparing to self-destruct rather than surrender. Commander Jake Morrison monitored the battle from his flagship, watching as human forces systematically dismantle the alien presence on Earth. But victory was coming at a cost he hadn't expected. Every alien position they captured revealed more evidence of how completely Earth had been transformed. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien leadership," reported Lieutenant Amy Collins. "They're requesting terms for surrender." Jake considered this for a moment. 500,000 years ago, the aliens had offered no terms to humanity. They had simply attacked without warning, killing billions of innocent people. But Jake was not his ancestors, and humanity had evolved beyond simple revenge. "Put them through," he ordered. The main viewing screen flickered to life, showing Chancellor Vexhai and the surviving members of the Hegemony Council. The reptilian leader's scales had lost their color, and his yellow eyes showed the strain of impending defeat. "Human Commander, I am Chancellor Vexhai. I speak for what remains of the Hegemony Council. We wish to discuss terms for ending this conflict." Jake looked at the alien leader, who represented everything humanity had fought against. "Chancellor, 500,000 years ago, your people drove us from our homes and murdered our families. What terms did you offer then?" Vexhai's throat sac pulsed with stress patterns. That was a different time. Different leaders made those decisions. Most of our current population wasn't even born when those events occurred. "Neither were we," Jake replied coldly. "But we remembered. Every human child born in the void between galaxies learned the story of what was taken from us." High Counselor Zindar's crystalline form chimed with frequencies of desperation. "Commander, we are prepared to evacuate Earth entirely. We can relocate our population to other worlds. Surely that would satisfy your desire for justice." Jake studied the alien leaders through the communication link. They looked genuinely afraid, perhaps for the first time in their lives understanding what it meant to be on the losing side of a war. "You speak of justice, Counselor. Let me tell you what justice looks like." Jake activated the tactical display, showing the current state of the battle across Earth's surface. Human forces controlled 70% of the planet, with alien resistance crumbling everywhere. Justice is not extermination, though you deserve it. Justice is not exile, though you inflicted it on us. Justice is accountability. Lieutenant Colonel Sam's voice crackled over the comm system. "Commander Morrison, we've secured the primary terraforming control center. Dr. Burke says she can begin atmospheric restoration immediately." Jake nodded to his communications officer. "Tell Dr. Burke to proceed. It's time to give Earth back its blue skies." The alien leaders watched as human forces systematically dismantled the terraforming systems that had maintained Earth's alien atmosphere for centuries. The change would not be immediate, but within months, Earth would begin to look like the world humans remembered from ancient stories. "Your terms are simple," Jake continued. "Full surrender of all forces in the Sol system. Complete evacuation of Earth within 1 standard year. Reparations to be paid in the form of technology and resources to help us rebuild what was destroyed." Chancellor Vexhai's throat sac inflated with what might have been relief or resignation. "And if we agree to these terms, you will allow us to leave peacefully? The species that oppose humanity's original exile will be allowed to relocate to designated worlds under human supervision. Those who actively participated in the genocide will face trial. Those who were born after the exile will be permitted to start new lives elsewhere." It was more mercy than humanity had received 500,000 years ago, and both sides knew it. The aliens had expected death or exile to the void. Instead, they were being offered a chance to rebuild under human oversight. Captain Ben Wright, commanding Retribution in the final assault on the orbital citadel, reported success. "Commander, the space station is surrendering. We've captured the remaining Hegemony military command structure. The battle for Earth was effectively over. Human forces controlled the planet's surface, its orbital space, and its atmospheric systems. The aliens who had ruled the galaxy for 500,000 years were now prisoners of the species they had tried to destroy. But Major Lisa Parker made one more crucial discovery as her team swept through the alien command centers. Sir, we've found their historical archives. Everything they know about the original war, about human capabilities, about what made us dangerous. It's all here. Jake studied the intelligence reports with growing understanding. The aliens had never forgotten humanity, despite their claims. They had studied human warfare, human technology, human psychology for centuries. They had known this day might come. They were preparing for our return, he realized. All these defenses, all this military buildup around Earth, they expected us. Dr. Helen Burke's analysis confirmed it. Commander, these archives show continuous military planning focused on defending against a hypothetical human return. They never stopped being afraid of us. The irony was profound. The aliens had spent 500,000 years living in fear of humanity's return, building defenses, and making plans for a war they hoped would never come. And when humanity finally did return, all their preparations proved inadequate. As the last alien resistance collapsed, Jake found himself standing in the ruins of what had once been Washington, D.C. The alien crystal city built on top of it was burning, but beneath the flames, human monuments were emerging from their long burial. Lieutenant Colonel Sam approached with a final report. Sir, organized resistance has ended. The planet is ours. What are your orders for the alien civilian population? Jake looked out over the transformed landscape of Earth, where human soldiers were already beginning to tear down alien structures to reveal the human cities beneath. Treat them fairly, Colonel. We're not conquerors. We're liberators. This is our world, but we won't become monsters to reclaim it. The reckoning was complete. Humanity had returned to Earth not just as victors, but as the inheritors of a legacy that had never truly been destroyed. The aliens had built their civilization on human foundations, and now those foundations were being reclaimed. As Earth's purple sky began to fade toward the blue of human memory, Jake Morrison understood that the real work was just beginning. They had won the war, but now they had to win the peace. 2 years after the liberation of Earth, Commander Jake Morrison walked through Central Park as morning sunlight filtered through leaves that were finally green again. The alien crystal gardens were gone, replaced by grass and trees that had been grown from genetic samples preserved in humanity's vast archives. Above him, Earth's sky was blue for the first time in 500,000 years. The atmospheric restoration is proceeding ahead of schedule, reported Dr. Helen Burke as she joined him on the pathway. Ocean salinity levels are returning to human norms, and we've successfully reintroduced over 300 species of Earth life. Jake nodded, but his expression remained thoughtful. Victory had come with a price that none of them had fully understood during the war. Earth was human again, but humanity itself had changed beyond recognition during their long exile. Lieutenant Amy Collins approached with a data pad containing the morning reports. She was now serving as Earth's deputy administrator, helping to coordinate the massive reconstruction effort. Sir, we received responses from 47 hegemony species regarding the relocation accords. Most are proceeding with evacuation as scheduled. However, the Crystalline Collective has requested permission to establish a permanent embassy on Earth. The Crystalline Collective had been the only alien species to oppose humanity's original exile during the war trials. Their historical records had shown consistent attempts to prevent the genocide. Jake had granted them special status as humanity's first alien allies. Approved, Jake said, but make it clear that they're guests here, not rulers. The trials had been the most difficult part of the post-war period. Human courts had judged thousands of alien leaders and military officers, determining their level of responsibility for the original genocide. Some had been executed, others exiled, but many had been granted mercy based on their species' opposition to the original war. Captain Ben Wright, now serving as Earth's military governor, joined them as they walked to the restored park. Commander, we've completed the excavation of Old London. The British Museum was intact, along with most of the government buildings. It's like the city was frozen in time. That had been the pattern everywhere. Alien construction had accidentally preserved human civilization by building over it rather than destroying it. Cities, monuments, even individual homes have been found intact beneath layers of alien crystal and metal. Major Lisa Parker, now Director of Planetary Security, transmitted her daily briefing. Sir, we've detected 3 more incoming refugee ships from the outer colonies. Human populations that survived in hiding are still returning to Earth. The discovery of hidden human populations throughout the galaxy had been one of the war's most surprising outcomes. Small groups of humans had survived on remote worlds, forgotten by both sides during the centuries of alien rule. They were returning now, drawn by news of Earth's liberation. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis, commanding the Reconstruction Corps, reported from the former site of Tokyo. Commander, we found something you need to see. The Imperial Palace was perfectly preserved, including the original gardens and artwork. It's like stepping back in time. Jake felt a complex mixture of joy and sorrow. They were recovering treasures of human civilization that had been thought lost forever, but each discovery reminded him of how much had been taken from them. Dr. Helen Burke reviewed her latest research data. Commander, the Genetic Restoration Project is showing remarkable results. We've successfully recreated 17 extinct human ethnic groups using the samples we recovered from Europa. The restoration of human genetic diversity had become one of the most important post-war projects. The million humans who had escaped the original genocide had carried only a fraction of humanity's genetic heritage. Now, using alien research materials, they were bringing back bloodlines that had been extinct for 500,000 years. How many people are we talking about, Doctor? Jake asked. Current projections suggest we can increase human genetic diversity by over 400%. Children born from this project will carry genes from human populations that existed before the exile. It was a form of resurrection that the aliens had made possible through their own research. They had preserved what they had tried to destroy, and now humanity was using that preservation to restore itself. Admiral Kate Lewis, now serving as Secretary of Galactic Affairs, transmitted a report from the hegemony's former capital world. Commander Morrison, 43 former hegemony species have formally recognized human authority in the Sol system. 12 have requested trade agreements. The galaxy was adapting to its new reality. Humanity controlled the most important system in local space, commanded the most advanced military technology, and held genetic samples that could revolutionize biological science. Other species were scrambling to establish friendly relations, but not all the news was positive. Captain Eddie Russell reported from the Outer System Patrol. Commander, we've detected Ursine Federation ships massing near the galactic rim. Intelligence suggests they may be planning some kind of military action. The Ursine Federation had been one of the primary advocates for humanity's original exile. Their species had fought with particular brutality during the genocide, and they had been among the few to reject the post-war settlement. What's their fleet strength? Jake asked. Approximately 200 ships, using upgraded versions of their old technology. They're no match for us individually, but they might try a coordinated attack. Jake considered this information. Some alien species would never accept human authority, no matter how fairly they were treated. The Ursines had always been proud warriors, and defeat sat poorly with them. Admiral Lewis, coordinate with Captain Russell. If the Ursines want another war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. As Jake continued his walk through the restored park, he reflected on how much had changed since humanity's return. Earth was blue and green again. Its cities were being rebuilt, and its skies were filled with human ships. But the humans who now called a home were not the same species that had been driven out so long ago. Children played on the grass nearby, the first human children to be born on Earth in 500,000 years. But these were not the children of ancient humanity. They had been genetically enhanced for survival in hostile environments, bred for intelligence and physical capability. Shaped by centuries of exile into something new, Captain Tony Martinez, now commanding Earth's orbital defenses, contacted Jake with an interesting report. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from an unknown human ship at the edge of the system. They're claiming to be descendants of a lost colony ship that never made it to the rendezvous during the original exile. The possibility of other human survivors continued to emerge. Some had hidden in remote systems, others had fled to different galaxies, and a few had apparently spent the entire exile period searching for their lost kin. Bring them in, Captain. Every human who wants to come home is welcome here. As the day progressed, Jake received reports from across the solar system. Mars was being converted from an alien military base into a human research center. The asteroid belt was being mined to provide materials for Earth's reconstruction. Jupiter's moons were being transformed into memorial sites honoring the humans who had died during the original war. But the most important moment came when Jake visited the site of the old United Nations building in New York. Human engineers had carefully removed the alien crystal structure built on top of it, revealing the original assembly hall where humanity had once debated its future among the stars. Lieutenant Amy Collins joined him in the restored chamber. "Sir, the Galactic Council has requested permission to establish a new interstellar government. They want humanity to take a leadership role." Jake looked at the empty seats where human delegates had once sat, making decisions that affected billions of lives. Now humanity was being asked to take on that responsibility again, but for an entire galaxy rather than just one species. "What's your recommendation, Amy?" "I think we should accept, but with conditions. We lead by example, not by force. We show the galaxy that humans have learned from our exile." Jake nodded. That was the challenge facing humanity now. They had proven they could win wars and conquer worlds. But could they build a peace that would last? As the sun set over Earth's restored landscape, Jake Morrison understood that humanity's greatest test was not behind them but ahead. They had reclaimed their homeworld, but now they had to decide what kind of galaxy they want to create. The exile was over. The war was won. Now the real work could begin. In schools across Earth, human children learned the stories of their ancestors. Not just the tales of loss and exile, but also the lessons of what it meant to survive impossible odds and emerge stronger. They were being taught that strength without wisdom was just another form of destruction. The galaxy had tried to destroy humanity once, and had only succeeded in forging them into something more dangerous than they had ever been. Now humanity had to ensure they never became the kind of threat to others that the hegemony had once been to them. The children playing in Central Park that day would inherit a galaxy where humans were no longer outcasts or refugees, but leaders and protectors. Whether they proved worthy of that inheritance would determine the future of every species among the stars. Humanity had come home at last. Now they had to decide what home meant in a universe that had tried to forget they existed.